Yeah, I mean, well, this is very much in the Indian traditions. There's so developed in the Upanishads in Vedic philosophy. They talk about five sheaths. Now, they don't really go into this in too much detail in the Upanishads, but they mention these five sheaths: the physical plane, the mental plane, the emotional plane, and the energetic, very subtle light frequencies, Anandamaya kosha. Yeah, they're called koshas, these different sheaths. Within tantric philosophy, yogic philosophy, they start to develop a very complex system of subtle energy channels throughout the system. So we don't know much about what's happening on a biological level because we haven't been able to test it as it's happening. So when Kundalini is actually rising, people are not in an MRI scanner, or we're not able to take hormone or samples of hormones and fluids to really see what's going on. That's why it's very difficult. But within the Indian systems, they have mapped out a subtle flow of energy. So within this system, it's very much as above, so below. What is physical is also subtle. So these maps lay on top of each other quite succinctly, as we are just starting to discover with the subtle body nervous system compared to our actual biological nervous system. But again, so early days. So the subtle body, what's happening when Kundalini awakens? There is a, depends what tradition you look at, but within the Tantric Buddhist system, we're looking at a relationship between the sun and the moon, the actual sun and the moon, like a time signature almost that moves through the body that affects the system in a way that we are influenced. Our hormonal cycles, our system is influenced by the full moon, the waxing and the waning of the moon, as well as the seasons. There are certain times of the year that we are nourished by a substance, what is called amrita or soma, nectar of the gods. It's got many names, and or bindu, and it builds up in the back of the brain. This is leaked out into our subtle nervous channel called Ida. Ida it nourishes the body, it gives life, it gives vitality to the body. And this is how we go about our daily activities. We go about our, interactions with the outside world. Our solar energy, Pingala, our source is in our navel, the navel chakra, and we receive light energy from the sun. This solar energy consumes all of that life force from Bindu that's moving around the body. When Kundalini is activated, the Bindu is withdrawn from our outside extremities and it goes into the central channel. And what is said to happen is the solar energy also goes into the central channel. These are subtle energy channels. The solar energy burns up the central channel and it melts Bindu. So this dripping sensation of bliss, which is sometimes experienced through the body. They have actually managed to measure this with jhana Buddhist meditation practitioners, advanced Buddhist meditation practitioners, and they have managed to put them in an MRI scanner and see certain parts of the brain light up and see certain parts of the brain quieten down. So what's happening in this process when the actual experience is happening? So they say jhana is very similar to the Kundalini awakening experience. The parts of the brain that deal with cognition, thought process, logic, fight or flight, gauging whether you're safe or not safe, that quietens down so much. It really quietens down to sometimes to a point where you go offline. Those centers go offline. And what is happening is a dopamine reward system, which is stimulated by awareness itself. And that starts to flood the system with, this is what they have been able to measure, norepinephrine and dopamine. So that's the sensation of ecstasy and bliss as it moves through the body. What is happening so in Buddhism, this is, you are developing concentration. Whenever you see a deity holding a sword, that's concentration. That is this particular type of meditation, this Kundalini, and it's cutting through it's giving insight, the ability to cut through the miasma, the fog of ignorance, the are constant cognitive processes that continually create concepts, delusional concepts that we all live in. So this Kundalini experience is allowing you to drop in deep into looking at the nature of reality, into a real subtle levels, quantum levels of existence, where you're able to see the building blocks of phenomena itself, of consciousness itself. So this is the Kundalini. When people do it in meditation, it's much more structured, much more deep, much more controlled. When it happens spontaneously, it's just happening in the office or at work or in Tesco's, or, you know, so people are having profound experiences suddenly, spontaneously, along with the heightened sensitivity or that comes from that insight. That's what the challenging aspect is. And obviously it's not managed, it's not controlled as it would be in a monastery. But these traditions have created conditions so that it's smooth, safe, easy.
So this is potentially the issue with people who have challenging experiences. They have this energetic system shifting, and without a framework around them to give them a sense of safety, they're going to have experiences, and they're not going to be held with those experiences, whether they're psychological, whether they're spiritual, whether they're physical.
Yeah, and it's not often that we make the choice to get out of an unsafe situation. You might be in a really unwholesome relationship, but people will stay in it. People don't have the notion to get to safe grounds. Maybe that might be their conditioning or what they're used to growing up, or, you know, that people don't have permission to seek safety sometimes, psychologically, their own frameworks.
But the important point with this is that the Kundalini experience and the flow of energy is burning through the blocks of the energetic system.
Absolutely, yes.
That block can be an attachment to a relationship. It can be an attachment to a job. It can be an attachment to money, or to something which ostensibly might seem good, but the Kundalini is saying, no, this is not good for you. And Absolutely. So as it burns through the energetic block, there's a physiological reaction. There could be pain, or it could be a life change. And if you fight that experience, the energy will still burn through it, causing that person without the right support to actually feel that they're having maybe a psychological problem or a physical problem, right? And then Alan, speak more about this.
Well, I mean, I think people might experience this as a great deal of stress. So if someone holds on, you know, through social conditioning to certain ideas, if someone is really wedded to the fact they should have a high status job, or they should have, you know, a high level of income, or they should be in a relationship, then they can have difficulties, you know, if they're holding on too tightly to social norms. And I think that can be a big issue for people, that you know, people in this society have been conditioned not to think they're conditioned, and but that everyone is conditioned, and in a way that this might not be, you know, in harmony with who they are on a deeper level. And I think the Kundalini actually puts a spotlight on this, and I think that does one of the issues that can make it very difficult for people.
That's definitely, I mean, that is the model that they would say. So what you were describing, Samir, of these psychological issues coming to the surface, in the subtle body model, we have nadis, channels or flows of energy, and I'm sure lots of people have heard of them, similar to the acupuncture meridians. Oh, well, maybe they're more subtle than that. The thoughts, there are certain nadis that, like, for instance, there's one between the eye and the brain, the cognitive process of the brain. So when you look at something, an impression is made. That impression turns into a kind of a vibration. It's a vibration along the nadi. Our body, our system is full of these impressions. Within the Indian systems, they would consider these impurities. That's what they call them, impurities. So when Kundalini is burning through the system, the fire burns through the nadis, and it burns up these impressions, or what they call samskaras. And these are that some of these samskaras are so deep, ancestral. From when you were a baby, the first impressions that we've had, maybe they're even genetic. We can't study this yet, but maybe they go back longer than just our experience in this lifetime. And that's certainly what the Buddhists say. This concept of reincarnation, we carry a lot of these samskaras with us into the next one. So they, within the Buddhist framework, that's what they would say. So that absolutely, Alan, that's how they would see it in these systems as well. This burning up of old karma to make way for a new karma. I think the problem is people are not really sure what to do with their clean slate. My dad said something funny in that, you know, humans are such a party animal. Like, we will celebrate, which is a wonderful thing, but we'll carry on celebrating when the house is on fire and we need to do something about it. We'll carry on celebrating when, you know, something really actually needs fixing. So I think that's that debate between activism and just enjoying the moment. There's that clarity, I suppose, people can have sometimes as to what's right and what's wrong, what needs doing, what's broken, what needs fixing. It's quite important. That's that, especially within the Indian philosophies, there's always that battle between the aesthetic who goes and lives in the forest and that person who gets involved in society to make those changes.